2 honeymoon horror stories that will give you more experience in marriage. YouTube, English. My husband and I recently got married, and our honeymoon was supposed to be a fantastic experience, but it turned into a horrifying memory. I'm Benjamin Case, and our wedding took place on November 5, 2010. The days leading up to it were filled with stress, as my wife had numerous breakdowns and non-stop planning. Nevertheless, the wedding day went smoothly, and it was finally my turn to ensure the honeymoon went off without a hitch. I had spent months contemplating where to go for our honeymoon, and eventually, I remembered how much my wife had expressed her desire to visit Mexico City, her native land. She left Mexico at a young age, barely remembering her own culture. It became an obvious choice, and I promptly arranged our honeymoon in Mexico City. 2 days after our wedding, we landed in Mexico. My wife was still beaming with excitement from the moment I had revealed our destination. I had booked a 7-day package that placed us in a romantic resort on the outskirts of the city, alongside another couple and a single mother with her 9-year-old son. The resort was picturesque, nestled among trees and overlooking a beautiful lake. For the first 5 days, we explored the city, taking tours and immersing ourselves in the local culture. We attended carnivals and got a sense of my wife's hometown. Throughout, her happiness was evident, and I believed the honeymoon had been a success. However, the resort manager informed us of a special experience for the last 2 nights. He mentioned an evening of native dances and songs during a feast, followed by a late-night trip into the forest to witness the beauty of fireflies synchronizing their mating dances. Late one night, my wife woke me up in a panic, claiming she heard someone crying. I couldn't hear anything, but her distressed expression convinced me to reassure her. The following day, the resort manager explained that the cries we had heard were likely locals playing pranks on guests by screaming at night. Days passed without incident until the night of the firefly excursion. As we gathered by a lake, the fireflies began their mesmerizing dance. Suddenly, they scattered in panic, and an eerie scream pierced the air. It was clear that something was amiss, something unnatural. Minutes later, another sound emerged, a sorrowful cry instead of a scream. Panic spread through our group, and we were about to leave when the manager muttered, "She can't be real, lol Lorona." Confused and frightened, we watched as a tall, veiled woman emerged from the water. Her decaying flesh was visible in places, and she pointed at a young boy named Josh. The boy's mother pleaded with the woman, offering herself in exchange for her son's safety. In a heart-wrenching moment, Josh took the woman's hand, and they both vanished. We returned to the resort, only to find the manager had disappeared. My wife was too scared to stay, so we left, saying our goodbyes and hoping Jackie, the mother, would someday be reunited with her son. Back in LA, we were contacted by Jackie, who was still searching for Josh, but no one believed our terrifying honeymoon story. Now, 13 years later, we can't forget the horrors we witnessed during that fateful trip. Story 2: Honeymoon Horror. Our honeymoon had started off beautifully. My husband, Kevin, and I had recently tied a knot in a small ceremony, surrounded by family and friends. Kevin had planned a surprise honeymoon for us, and as a budget-conscious couple, We were eager to explore an island paradise he had discovered. We arrived at this picturesque European island, filled with excitement and wonder. The initial days were filled with bliss, as we explored the stunning beaches and enjoyed each other's company. However, our honeymoon took a bizarre twist on the fourth day, when we were informed by the hotel staff that our stay was only booked for 4 days, not the 5 we had anticipated. Although Kevin had intended to book for a longer duration, there seemed to have been a mix-up, and there were no available rooms for an additional night. With our flight home scheduled for the following afternoon, we decided to explore some local homestays, hoping to find a place to rest before our long journey. The hotel arranged for a taxi to take us to the city center, and that's when we met Sean, a friendly local who offered to help us find a homestay. Sean guided us to his Aunt Maura's homestay, which appeared cozy and inviting. Maura welcomed us warmly, and we felt fortunate to have found such a hospitable place. She offered to cook us lunch and dinner, and we eagerly accepted her offer. After indulging in a delicious meal, we decided to take a short nap to recharge. However, when we woke up, our world had turned upside down. Our belongings, including our money and passports, were missing, and we realized we had been drugged and rendered unconscious. Panic set in as we realized that we were trapped inside the house, as all doors and windows were locked from the outside. We tried to find help, but the house was secluded, and there was no one around to hear our cries. Our only chance was to wait until the morning and hope that someone would come to our aid. It was a nerve-wracking and sleepless night. With no passports, money, or a way to contact the authorities, we were at the mercy of our captors, Sean and Maura. Our honeymoon had turned into a nightmare, and our future was uncertain. We desperately hoped for a miracle to escape this terrifying ordeal and make it back home. As we anxiously awaited dawn, we couldn't help but wonder how our dream honeymoon had taken such a dark and unexpected turn. The hours dragged on, and the weight of our situation bore down on us. Dawn finally broke, and with it came a glimmer of hope. As the first rays of sunlight crept into our room, we realized that we needed to act quickly and decisively if we were to escape this nightmarish predicament. We whispered urgently to each other, formulating a plan. We knew we couldn't count on our captors, Sean and Maura, showing any mercy or returning our belongings. Our passports and money were crucial for our journey back home, but our immediate priority was to get out of that locked house. Quietly, we began searching the room for any hidden tools or objects that could aid our escape. The room had been stripped of most items, but we managed to find a small, sharp piece of metal under the bed. It wasn't much, but it could potentially help us pick the lock or create an opening. We decided to start with the windows. Kevin cautiously used the makeshift tool to pry at the window frame. It took several nerve-wracking attempts, but after what felt like an eternity, we heard a soft click, and the window slowly budged open. Our hearts raced as we silently celebrated this small victory. The next challenge was to create a distraction to divert Sean and Maura's attention away from us. We knew that if they realized we were trying to escape, they might become violent. Our best chance was to wait for the right moment, seize it, and make a run for it. Hours passed, and the anxiety was nearly unbearable. We could hear Sean and Maura moving around the house, but we couldn't discern their intentions. We continued to wait, our senses heightened to every sound, every creaking floorboard. Finally, the moment came. We heard Sean's voice outside our door, engaged in what seemed to be a heated argument with Maura. This was our chance. We knew we had to move quickly and silently. We climbed out of the window one by one, onto the narrow ledge outside. It was a precarious position, but we had no choice. Kevin lowered me down, and then I helped him. As we clung to the wall, we could hear the voices inside growing louder. Our hearts raced as we inched our way along the ledge, hoping to reach the front of the house and make our escape. It felt like an eternity, but finally, we reached a point where we could drop down to the ground without attracting too much attention. We landed with a soft thud and immediately broke into a run, not looking back. Fear and adrenaline coursed through our veins as we sprinted through unfamiliar streets, desperately seeking help. We finally stumbled upon a police station, and with what little energy we had left, we told them our harrowing story. The local authorities, along with the U.S. Embassy, launched an investigation into Sean and Maura's illegal activities. It turned out that they had been operating a scam targeting unsuspecting tourists. We were fortunate to have escaped with our lives, but our honeymoon had been forever marred by this traumatic experience. Although we never recovered our stolen passports and money, the important thing was that we were safe and reunited with our loved ones. Our honeymoon tale was no longer one of romance and adventure, but a cautionary story about the unexpected dangers that can lurk in even the most idyllic places. As we returned home, we vowed never to let this horrifying experience define our marriage. Instead, we chose to focus on the strength and resilience we discovered within ourselves during those dark days, knowing that we could face any challenge together as a united couple. In the aftermath of our harrowing escape from the scamming couple, Sean and Maura, Kevin and I made it back to the safety of our home. The experience had forever changed us, but we were determined not to let it cast a shadow over our marriage. We knew that we needed to move forward and rebuild the dream honeymoon that had been so cruelly stolen from us. The first order of business was to contact the authorities and provide them with all the information we had about Sean and Maura. The local police, along with the assistance of the U.S. Embassy, launched a full-scale investigation into the couple's criminal activities. We hoped that our cooperation would lead to their apprehension and prevent them from victimizing others in the future. While the investigation was ongoing, we focused on replacing our stolen passports and managing our finances. It was a bureaucratic process, filled with paperwork and countless phone calls, but we were determined to overcome these hurdles. Our determination to recover and move forward only strengthened our bond as a couple. As the days turned into weeks, we received updates from the authorities about the progress of the investigation. Sean and Maura's illegal operation had been exposed, and they were apprehended, facing serious charges related to fraud, theft, and kidnapping. Knowing that they would face justice provided us with a sense of closure and relief. With our legal matters on track, we decided to take the opportunity to rewrite our honeymoon story. We couldn't let the memories of that fateful trip taint our relationship. Instead, We were determined to create new, positive experiences together. We planned a second honeymoon, this time opting for a destination that was far from the secluded island where our nightmare had unfolded. We chose a vibrant and bustling city known for its culture, cuisine, and romantic ambience. It was the perfect setting to rejuvenate our spirits and celebrate our love. Our second honeymoon was everything we had hoped for and more. We explored the city's iconic landmarks, indulged in delicious local cuisine, and rekindled the romance that had brought us together in the first place. The trip served as a symbol of our resilience and our ability to overcome adversity as a couple. As we stood together, hand in hand, in front of a breathtaking sunset on our second honeymoon, we realized that our love had not only endured the trials of our ordeal, but had also grown stronger. We had faced the darkest moments of our lives and emerged from them with a newfound appreciation for each other and the life we had built together. Our story had transformed from one of fear and despair into one of triumph and love. We had rewritten our honeymoon narrative, and it was now a tale of resilience, love, and the unwavering bond between two people who had weathered a storm together. Looking back, we knew that our love story was stronger than any obstacle that could come our way, and as we gazed into each other's eyes, we felt grateful for the journey that had brought us to this moment, a moment that represented the beginning of a new chapter in our lives filled with hope, love, and endless possibilities.